The biggest primary challenge I think that financial institutions and compliance in particular are facing is around data and data management. The value of the data informs our risk decisions, our compliance decisions, and I think being able to organize that data and produce that data in a meaningful output so that we can take those risk-based compliance decisions is a very big challenge. Due in part to the system architecture built in many financial institutions over years and years, and we really need to work with not only our vendor community, but our internal employees to develop systems that actually work together to produce the management information we need to make compliance decisions. Large financial institutions suffer from what I call too much data. Because of the historic nature of large financial institutions, some of which have been around for 150 years, we have a lot of information, some of which we have not disposed of, some of which we still use, but again, we have so much data. And again, to the point made in the challenge, is how do we organize that data to meet varying compliance obligations that are currently upon us? Smaller new entrant bankers and banks suffer from a different problem. Again, a data problem, but too limited of a data set. So hard to make historic-based activity risk management decisions because there's just not the historic data available. So new market entrants suffer from the lack of data to go through and pipe through their systems to produce an output that has some historic characteristic. But over time, again, they will develop and hopefully manage better the amount of data they will have consumed on a 10-year time horizon. Sometimes fairly poorly, if I can be candid. And it's not specific to Rabobank, but I think what we are doing in a very proactive way is, again, looking at our source systems, looking at our regulatory obligations, and attempting to scale certain systems to meet those regulatory obligations, as well as adopt to regulatory change without introducing more complexity. So again, at Rabobank, we have this term called simplification. So we are looking at everything in risk management, including our systems and our GRC tooling, in a simplification mindset. So if it makes the bank more complicated, we won't do it. So we're really looking at utilizing tools and data to make the regulatory obligation requirements more clear and simple to manage. I think the biggest regulatory change that is upon us and will continue in perpetuity is ESG. I think the societal component of ESG, as well as the climate component of ESG, will require a huge amount of effort for both Rabobank but also the industry at large in terms of meeting those regulatory obligations and expectations. And again, with GRC tooling and proper data management, tagging, etc., I think we can do it, but it's going to be a lot of work. So what keeps me up at night? I think the ESG agenda. I think as well cybersecurity and privacy. That is, again, something, whether it's GDPR more globally or the privacy statutes here in the United States, I think, again, we're going to see increased expectations around consumer privacy, client privacy, employee privacy, and again, how a company safeguards all this data and information that we've accumulated in the bank. I love the summit. The summit is an efficient way to have real thought leadership discussed during the course of a day. It brings together providers and consumers like myself to, again, figure out what's new on the horizon, where the priorities are in the marketplace. It gives me a forum to talk about the bank's priorities with potential vendors who can help solve issues. And again, to hear from experts and industry leaders in GRC and in the industry about what keeps them up at night.